Everybody, welcome to the video, and let's continue from where we left off in the previous video. So far we've been building our form and we've done a lot of work. We've written the markup. We are almost done with the markup, and very soon we'll be getting into the styling with the CSS. All right, so let's continue. With form submissions, it is useful and good practice to provide each submittable element with a name attribute. This attribute is used to identify the element in the form submission. So what we want to do is give each element a unique name attribute of your choosing, except for the two radio inputs, this one here. That's because we don't want our user to submit both a personal account and a business account. We just want one. But for the rest, each one has to have a unique name element, because inside our database, that unique name element is what we are going to use to identify that element. All right, so we'll go ahead and give each submittable element a name attribute of our choosing. Okay, so let's start with the name here. Okay, so obviously we'll give this an input of, let's just say, first name. Let's keep it simple. Where's the second one? This is the second one. We'll give it an input of, a name attribute of last name. Let's give the email a name attribute of email. Then let's give the password a name attribute of password. And so for this radio, we already have a name, so we just leave it like that. We want the name to be the same. Okay, so for terms and conditions, let's give it a name attribute of I'll just say terms and conditions. Okay, so moving on, for the file, let's give it a name attribute of file. For the age, want to give it a name attribute of age. Next up, for the referrer, let's give it a name attribute of referrer as well. Referrer. All right, and then for the text area, we'll give it a name attribute of bio. Okay. All right. On to the next one. All right, so now we are done with our markup. Okay, so we've added all the necessary elements that we need for our form, right? So everything that we need is here, but the only thing left is that this form really isn't looking nice. If we should add this form to our website, it doesn't really look nice. So let's start by working on the styling. Okay, let's spruce it up a bit. Okay, so first we'll start by changing the font, and let's change it to what we call Tahoma. So the way we do that is to say font family, and let's say Tahoma. All right. Oh, sorry. We also need to change font size as well. Okay, so font size 16 pixels. Okay. All right, next what we want to do is to center the h1 and p elements. So the way we're going to do that is to first select them. So h1, comma, and then p. We bring our curly braces. And then we want to give them a margin of 1 em and O2. So like I said in a previous lesson, one of the previous lessons, when you write margin and you give it just two values, what happens is that the first value is applied to margin top and margin bottom, and the second value is applied to margin left and margin right. Okay, let's move on. Oh, sorry, we should also add text align as well, because we want to center them. So text align, and the value of text align in this case, we want it to be center. All right. Next up, center the form element, okay, and give it a margin of 0 or 2. Okay, so we want to center the form element itself, the whole of this. So the way we're going to do that is to say form, bring our curly braces, and then give it a margin of 0 or 2. Once again, if you write margin and you give it the two values, the first value is applied to the top, margin bottom. The second value is applied to margin left and margin right. All right, then we want to give it a max width or maximum width of 500 pixels. Okay, so now before we do the max width, let me show you something. If I stretch the form like this, you see the whole form is wide and it's just not looking good. We don't want it this way. So we want to give it a maximum width so that if you are stretching it and it reaches that maximum width, it ceases to stretch. It doesn't stretch again. And the way we do that is the maximum width. Let me add it and we see the effect that will have. So we say max width, okay, and we'll say 500 pixels. All right, now as you can see, if I shrink it, it shrinks, but if I expand it, you see it still stays in the middle nicely. It doesn't matter how large the screen gets, it still stays in the middle nicely like that. Okay, sorry, we also have to add a min width, a minimum width, and that's going to be, so once again the minimum width works like the max width but just the opposite. So if I keep scrolling, you see it keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller and just doesn't look good. That's not how we want it to work. So we'll give it a min width of 300. That way if I keep shrinking it, the form will cease to shrink. So okay, I don't know why. Okay, so let's give it a min width of 300 pixels. Yeah. Oh, sorry, the min width shouldn't be 300 pixels. It should be 60 VH. Wait, no, min width, sorry. Min width should be 300 pixels and allow it to have a width of 60 VH. Now width should be 60 VH. Okay. VW, oh God, what is happening? Yeah, 60 VW. Okay, yeah. All right, during development, it is useful to see the field set default borders. However, they make the contents appear too separated. So we want to remove all of these borders all around it. So the way we're going to do that is to say field set, okay, to target all the field sets, and we're going to say border. We'll give it a border of none. All right, so that takes away all the borders from it. And then we want to give it a padding. So the padding works similar to the margin, and if you write padding with just one value, it affects all four sides. So that's padding top, padding left, padding right, and padding bottom. All right, so be sure to remove the padding from the left and right. So the way we do that is to just say 0. Okay, let's move on. To give the field set element a bit of separation, select them and give them a border bottom of 3 pixels, solid, and this color right here. So we say border 3 pixels, solid, and 3B3 B4F. All right, so what I did was border, but what we need is border bottom. Okay, all right. Yeah, the border of the last field element, the last field set, okay, this one here, looks a little out of place. You can select the last element of a specific type using the last of type CSS pseudo class like this. Okay, so in this form we have three field sets, right? So this right here, this right here, and this right here. And for the last field set, we've given, like for each of the field sets, we've given them a border. But what we want to do is we want to take the border for the last field set off, okay? And the way we can select that last field set is to say field set, which is the name of the element, and we want to say last of type. So what last of type does is that it will go to our code and look at all the field sets and then go to the last field set that we have, and then whatever style we add here will be added to that last field set. Okay, so for example, I can say background color, let's just say red. Okay, and as you can see, it's added to the last field set. But if I had just done field sets, then that background color will be added to all of the 3 field sets. Okay, all right, so now we don't want to change the background color. This is silly. We just want to remove the border bottom, so we just say border bottom none. All right, and there it goes. Also, it will be nicer to have the label text appear in the form of element. Since all the input text area and select element, select all input text area and select element. So the way we want to do that is to say input, we separate it by a comma, text area, we also separate it by a comma, and then select. Okay, then we bring our curly braces and make them take up the full width of their parent element. So full width, so we just keep it 100%. All right, so now as you can see, it's stacking on top of the input nicely. All right, also we want to set margins. So margin, add 10 pixels of margin to the top of the selected element and set the other margins to 0. So we'll say margin and we'll say 10 pixels and we'll say 0, 0, 0. So the way this works is that CSS will set margin to, so the first value is for the top, so it works in a clockwise direction, right? So top, right, bottom, and then left. So top, right, bottom, left. Top, right, bottom, left. So that's how it works. Okay. For the second field set, you want the input and label text to appear on the same line. So we're talking about this right here. So the way we're going to do that is to first give the input element in the second field set a class of inline. So for all the input elements in the second field set, we'll give them each a class of inline. So here's the first input. We'll just say class inline, and class inline. Where's the last one? Class inline. Now inside our CSS, because we've given each of these a class of inline, you can just target them with a dot and write the name of the class, which is inline in this case, and we give them the style. So the first style we want to give them is to say width, and we'll say onset. All right, yeah. So now it takes away the previous styling, which made them stack one on top of the other, as this one is, and then puts them next to each other like so. All right, so that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching, and let's continue in the next one. So see you in the next video. Bye bye.